Well, I'm Bobby Edge with the Houston Lego group, actually. And what prompted this build was the fact that I work at a public library and we were having a Texas history program for Texas Independence Day. And I couldn't think of anything more iconic for Texas history than the Alamo. And so this is actually my second edition, if you will. It's been expanded many times since I did this one, but the thing I tried to do first was capture the essence of what I felt like the face of the Alamo would look like at the time of the Battle of the Alamo, because it was a couple of centuries old mission by that point, and so it's broken down and it's got the old bits of support from the roof, so I was trying to incorporate those kind of elements in it. And the structure itself, the compound, is kind of a composite because I needed to fit it in a display case, and so I had to shorten it a little bit. But really what I was trying to capture really was the essence of, to me, the mythology and the legend of the Alamo, because to me that's its biggest contribution to Texas history is the mythology aspect. And what I was trying to capture in the scene really was just the disproportionate setting of like the Mexican army versus the Texans, and just like the scale of what the Texans were facing. The numbers on the Mexican side may not have been quite as big as what they were advertised in certain films and stuff, but it still was no question that they had the overwhelming superiority over the Texans. And I'm a history major, and that's partly why I tried to do that program for the Texas Independence Day. And so on the history side, I've got the cavalry with their red uniforms, the Lancers, and they've got their full equipment. They got the sabers and the carbines and the lances on their stuff. And then I got like 50 infantry here with the officers. And then I got the artillery guys and their officer here. Got the colors kind of in the back in the middle with the bugler. And then Santan is off to the side in the back with his aide-de-camp. And I figured with his ego, he probably had a white horse and a gold saddle. And then on the Texan side, I've got Davy Crockett. And then I got, he needs to be down here. I got Will Travis. He was a lawyer, and he bought his own uniform. I figured he'd have the spiffy outfit. He's got a nice white jacket and everything. And I got Bowie here with his knife. And then I got a couple of people mixed in that if any fans of the John Wayne Alamo, they might recognize. I got Jocko here with his feather in his cap. And then there's one other dude, Thimblerig. He was a gambler. That was just a little personal Easter eggs, if you will, because that was my favorite movie growing up, and that was probably the biggest single inspiration for all the stuff on the Mexican side in terms of the uniform colors and things like that, because some of them, it was really hard to match the history, and so I figured if I can't match the history, I will go ahead and match the John Wayne movie.
That's the fallback. Yeah, well, that certainly is an iconic movie when you think about the Alamo.
Yeah.
So when you were working on the minifigs, did you try to pull up, source material from the time period to try to match the uniforms and things like that?
I did. I pulled up I would type in like 1836 Mexican Army artillery, infantry, and cavalry. And really what it ended up being was the artillery, like almost all the uniforms were like a blue of some sort for the jackets. So the artillery, I was able to get one that differentiated enough using old pirate outfits, actually. And then on the infantry, I was using old Imperial stuff. But for the cavalry, I was like, I don't want that much blue stuff going on. So like I said, I went with the John Wayne one, and they had red cavalry outfits. So that's what I did there. And then, really, to me, the biggest thing was the most fun part was finding and identifying the different elements for the minifigures, whether it's the Mexican infantry or the artillery or the Texan guys. Because on the infantry, I've got the little satchels, and I got the epaulets are mostly for color. I don't think they would have had them, but I had the little satchels, which is their cartridge bag, and I got the muskets. I already talked about the cavalry with their outfit. But the Texans is a total mishmash of guys, and so I've got Forrester stuff. I've got Lord of the Rings stuff. Like it's just the torsos.
Right.
The heads are all different and stuff. But yeah, I've got a couple of different torsos from like Frodo and Sam and like Forrester guys and a couple of other random bits and pieces in here. And to me, it was so much fun because to me the challenge was finding stuff that was Lego pieces, Lego products, but how to repurpose them and how to and how to find stuff that looked like it would fit kind of in the period of the 1800s. And so I was trying to keep it differentiated as best I could for the Texans, and because I didn't want to have too much of the same stuff. And like for the Mexican Army, I've got like 8 or 9 different faces in here. I've got several of the same face, but I tried to come up with as many as I could so it wouldn't be like looking like it's the Texans versus the clone army over here. So
That's very true. Did you have any third-party accessories in here, or?
the only third-party accessory I've got is the Bowie knife, and that's because Lego doesn't make that. But no, to me, really the most fun part about it was just the challenge of finding what is Lego stuff and using it in a completely different fashion. So I mean, I've even got some Mexican guys with the sombreros in here and other stuff, and I do have some Mexican guys that don't have the sombreros because that didn't, just because it's that's what they're known for. Maybe at the time, that's all that they wore. Yeah, I tried to mix in as much history as I could in terms of like the uniforms and like what it might have been like, or the Texans, like since they didn't have really uniforms apart from a couple of guys. But then, like I said, the essence of it to me was like the mythology side. But I was just trying to capture as much individual pieces of history as I might be able to come up with. Like on the artillery, there was probably a couple different kinds, but the only way to do that with the Lego is to make the back end different. So I got the short one with short wheels and the red to set it apart from the longer one with the brown wheels and the brown carriage. So these are probably the heavy guns, and then the other ones might be the little howitzers, which are like 6-pounders or something. So, and the same with the tents and the wagon. I was just trying to capture with the tents and the wagon, I was trying to capture some sense of like, okay, these guys didn't just show up and set up. It's like they've actually they're settled in here for a couple of days, or at least like it's not like they just showed up one morning, fought, and then they left. So that was my latest expansion on it, was the wagon and the tents. But and it kind of helped to balance out the Texans guys, because the Texans, like, they've got all the structure and stuff. And then obviously the Mexicans have all the minifigures, but it kind of helped to balance it a little bit more, I think, because there's an element of artistry in here. Like I don't always call myself an artist, but I'm definitely a detail person when it comes to visual details, and so this was yeah. This is my my centerpiece, and to quote one of my friends over there that did the Legends of the West or whatever. It was like this particular mock would be, I guess, my pride and joy. So
there you go. Yeah, well, it certainly is impressive, and the show being in San Antonio this year, it's a perfect build to bring out to the Brick Fiesta. So I'm glad you were able to bring it out and show the cool, the Mexican Army fight versus the Texans here. So very impressive. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, and it was really neat to have the opportunity to bring it out here to San Antonio for once, because I've shown it in Houston several times, but it's nice to actually bring it back to kind of where I guess its home turf should be. But yeah, like I'm not from San Antonio, but I've always enjoyed going to the Alamo and other places around. So yeah.
There you go. Perfect. Well, thank you.
Thank you.